Okay, there we go. Now we are live. This is the weekly demo meeting for the Habitat project for the week of September 1st, 2017. I'm going to go ahead and share the demo board here so we can go and see what all is going to be shared, and then we can, from there, you all can just share your screens as is necessary. So it looks like the first thing for today is going to be new API for saving credentials, which is Salim. Salim, are you ready to present?
Yeah, definitely. So basically in this demo, what I'm going to show is 3 APIs that we've just added for saving credentials for the service integrations that we're going to be adding to Habitat. So the scenario is you've got something like a Docker service that you want to export packages to. You need credentials to be able to export those packages. And we want to allow a secure way to save those credentials, and later on the worker will retrieve them and be able to use them. So this right now is just at the API level. The UI is coming shortly. So there's 3 APIs. The first one that I'm going to show is being able to save the credentials by doing a put. So here, let's see, I have a cat test credentials. So let's say I have something like my creds, username, password, just JSON content. And now I'm going to do a put. Second. So I'm going to put to this specific URL its origins. Core is the origin, integrations, and this is just maybe I'll just change this and call this something like Docker. So Docker, and I think it's that part. Okay, so oh no, I need a names. Okay, so that succeeded. So let's take a look up here in this window. I have a the database. So we'll just look at the backend and see if I have anything in origin integrations. And yes, I do. It's in there's something in the core origin. It's the integration name is Docker, and then you can give it a key as well. And I just called it names for now. And then you can see that the body is something that we encrypt, so we never store the credentials in plain text. So now that I have them in the database, let me try and do a retrieval. So right now we don't actually allow retrieving of the credentials. That call is coming next, but we do let you allow retrieval of whatever names that you've stored these credentials in, so that in the UI we can display what that credential set is called. So I'm going to show a get, and I'm going to change this just a little bit because I called this Docker. So I'm going to just call it Docker. And now I get a list of names, and I happen to call it names, but it could be anything. And then the last one I'm going to show you is the delete API. So let's just do that. And I'm going to now delete this guy. And it's deleted. And now if I go in here and I look for integrations, there's nothing there. So that's basically it. That's the demo. We have 3 APIs. They allow us to save credentials, retrieve the names of the sets of credentials, and then also delete them. And these will be used for upcoming service integrations.
Super cool. Very cool work. And Salim, do you have any quick description of what those upcoming service integrations might be?
Well, we're going to start with the Docker export. Like I mentioned, we will have the builder service let you build a package and then export it to Docker, and so it just shows up in your Docker, either public Docker hub or your Docker registry, and then you can use it as you see fit.
That's awesome. Thank you for taking the time on that today, Salim. Really appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
All right, so next we have Mr. Nunziato with consolidated package views and other improvements in the Depot UI. Are you ready to present, Chris?
I think so, yeah. See if I can find the right one here. Okay, so this is just going to be a quick little show of what we've been doing in the Depot UI to just kind of tighten things up, make things a little bit nicer, easier to navigate and use and stuff. Today, so we're looking at the builder UI and production here. Today, if I look for packages, what am I? Hang on. Oh, I get confused sometimes as to which thing I'm looking at. Here we go. There are several sort of steps that you get that you step through on the way to kind of look at a package. You kind of you have a sort of separate view for the versions of a package, another view that shows you the releases for that package, and then another view that shows you the details of that package. We just wanted to kind of squash that down and kind of give the concept of a package one place to live, and to kind of like be able to show you all the things about that package in one location. So we've done that here. So we have our new view here where we kind of focus first on the latest version of a package release. We show you a little bit of, all the detail that you're used to seeing here with some slight design modifications, but plan source, all the dependency stuff is here. Off on the right side, now you got a little bit more to do. We're kind of filling this out over the next few weeks, but a link to the latest stable, a little copy paste kind of helper that lets you run a package just from the command line. We've got a versions tab here, which shows me all of the different versions of this particular package. And as I can open and close each of these, just like look at the details of those packages and click through to the actual release release artifacts. And then a builds tab that just shows you all the full build history. You can click to run a build, and I actually just went and looked at an old build. Yeah, so this is the build I just kicked off. Look at the output and stuff. So just sort of everything's sort of like in one place now. A little bit easier to use and less moving around. So that's all I got.
Oh, that's super awesome stuff, Chris. And do you have any like preview that you can give us or like verbally of some of the stuff that you're planning to fill out that sidebar with? You mentioned that there was some more work that was planned there.
What you saw is most of the big stuff. There'll be some additional links to if a package was built and also published to Docker, for example, you'd see a link to hop over to that directly. A little bit more detail as to like the platforms for individual packages and stuff that we'll see in that sidebar. There may be other stuff, but that's all that's coming to me right now. So yeah, that's about it.
That's exciting. I mean, just seeing the button press and being able to kick off builds, anybody who's watching probably is going to get excited about being able to just rebuild their software that way. It's kind of awesome. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Definitely fun.
Yeah.
I bet.
All right, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and drag you over here to done for now. We're actually going to skip down. We'll come back to these in a moment, but we're going to skip down here to Nell, who has some new Ruby scaffolding features and bug fixes that she's going to discuss with us.
Hello, everyone. Let me go ahead and share my screen. We're going to get meta here for a second. All right, so what I'd like to highlight for you today is a few bug fixes that just came to the Ruby scaffolding in the past couple of days. These aren't the most demonstrable in this format because a lot of them occur a little later in the build process. So first one is that we had a problem with the Ruby scaffolding in that it would pull in every time you made a build, it would pull in all those builds from the result directory into your package. So that meant package build times would grow longer and longer and longer and so on. So we took that out, and the way we did that was, let's go ahead and view this. Okay, apparently it won't let me search the number, so we'll just scroll down real quick. There we go. So what we did was when we tar up that app, we're now explicitly excluding the results directory along with the habitat directory and the vendor bundle. So this has increased or decreased the time of builds with the Ruby scaffolding by quite a bit. And all right, so next one we had, which I ran into, was we found out, so the Ruby scaffolding does not like when you define a package source because it's expecting the files for developing that package to be located in a conventional area. And the way we were telling people that was this error, which doesn't really make much sense, especially if someone's coming to the scaffolding for the first time. So the way we fixed this was I added in some error handling to return an error if someone has the package source variable set, and that way they get that helpful error and it stops right away. Now I do want to add, we have had reports that this line might be a little bit flawed. It works if you're using the conventional habitat setup for your repos, but if someone has something special, it might be a little wonky right now. So there's a bug report in for that right now, and I'm looking at that today. If you encounter bugs like that, please submit a issue to the core plans repo. And final one I want to highlight is there were some bundle version issues in Ruby scaffolding. It would build, if you used a version of bundler to create your gemfile.lock that was different than the version of bundler within core bundler, which is what core/Ruby scaffolding calls, it would error out and you'd be like, huh? And it would only do this some of the time. It wouldn't do it all the time. So that's not great. There was a manual repo to force it to use bundler version 1.15.1, but there's some nice features in the latest release. So what I did was I ended up updating the bundler core plan to version 1.15.4, and that error no longer occurs. And that is it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and unshare my screen. Let's go meta again. And that is all I got. All right. Back to you, Ian.
Awesome. Thank you, Mel. I super appreciate it. And all of this is like in effort, an ongoing effort that we've got around the scaffolding right now. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is my focus for the next month or so, is getting the Ruby scaffolding and Node scaffolding in excellent shape. Therefore, I'd love if people would try it out, let me know if there are problems with it, and then maybe moving on to the Go scaffolding and PHP scaffolding once those first two are in good shape. And that's it. Awesome.
Thank you, Nell. Super cool. Sweet. So I don't think that Jaime is actually with us because I think he is in transit to somewhere on the East Coast. So we will go down below Jamie's two demoables here. If he joins us later, he can hop on those. But what we're going to do next is hand it over to Mr. Fletcher Nickel. Fletcher, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Surprise!
This one's for me feels epic because I'm going to share my whole screen today. Because I need a web browser. And that feels weird. Okay, so let me just see if I can do this without recursing into infinity. Did that do it? Seems reasonable?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. Yeah, this is weird because I'm pretty used to just showing you a terminal screen and like all the goodies are usually in there. So what I'm going to show is our sort of the work to date on our Docker image exporting and then optionally publishing out to the Docker Hub. And again, this is a continuation of last week, and I have still a little bit of cleanup. The more I do, the more I see avenues to do some nice things. So this is going to be showing you a little bit of what we've done since last week. So what I'm going to do is run us a, let's see if I can make us a Docker image from core Redis. So right now, we can take an existing artifact that's in the depot or go right from a heart. And I've got one optimization to make from the heart. And this is to work better in Builder in our worker environment. But this will be something like a command that likely just developers, normal people, and people playing with it can still use. my goal here is that like the worker shouldn't be executing anything much more complicated than what a user can execute themselves. So what you can see right now here is the sort of work to date. You know, what I showed last week is kind of what you saw, with a few extra things, some extra users, and the entry point being made correctly, and our Docker file being made. So this is the Docker image being created. If you've ran a hab-pkg-docker before, the output looks different, but it's very basically a similar strategy. And the biggest difference now is here. What we're doing is adding sort of the Docker kind of name, like your kind of username and image name. It's very hard to know exactly what to call this component before the colon, which is a Docker tag, because the way that the Docker CLI calls this whole thing a tag, even though it's not. That's like the registry name component. But what we're doing is making a set of defaults right now that I think will have opt-in and opt-out tunables that will, by default, will give you your origin name / your package name, and then your tag. We're going to set you up with 3 of them. So one is the package version -release. And we had to do a dash because of the rules of Docker tag things. We can't use a /. So I hope that that's like reasonable. And then we're also going to do one with your just the version, so that normally I would be thinking, if this was my own application instead of Redis, I would probably be thinking of my like semver version, and I wouldn't know what release that I just built. And then probably what's going to happen most of the time when I'm demoing this is I'm not even going to think of the tag. I just want the latest. And so that's kind of what you get by default here. Oh, right. This is something that I added in actually pretty quick here to do publishing, which is what I was going to show next. And clearly I have one option that I forgot. So I'm just going to another tab to show you in my local Docker engine that we've got this core Redis that got exported out. It's the same image SHA. We've got 3 tags. And I'm just going to remove these. All right, this is what I'm going to show next, because this is a problem even for us if we wanted to start publishing core services to the Docker registry. I think we have lost our ability to go and grab the username called core, and that's a little silly. We'd likely use our Habitat one or something like that. So what we're able to do here, I'm just going to actually go back up to this one. This is a similar invocation, and there's a bit more stuff going on. I know this is starting to look like tagging soup, but this is a lot of like explicit stuff, and not likely everyone's going to need to do this. And again, this is to make the line from builder into the worker and then running everything and being able to hide things we need to hide. So you could kind of think of the worker one day running something like this. So this image name flag lets us override kind of the resulting name of the Docker image. And you can see here I've got like the same handlebars syntax for package name. What that's going to do is it's going to go and look through all the package identifiers that I give. It's going to find all the service ones, the ones that have like run hooks. And the first one is right now the primary one, like the default one that you're going to run. So I could also have added like nginx and then called this image like, you know, fnickel / my fun stuff if I wanted a super custom name. But right now I'm just going to keep Redis. And what this package name will resolve to is the first service package identifier or package that I give. So that way, like what I want is fnickel / Redis, and I could do this. But if I'm going to do this over lots and lots of images, my hope is like a flag like this is pretty easy to implement. We can support the origin name version release. And that way you don't have to be like dropping Redis in like 25 places. And I'm going to say that I want to push this to the Docker Hub, and I'm providing my username and password, which are environment variables, which hopefully I won't accidentally show it to the intranet. And then on the left-hand side is basically my user, my whatever this is called on Docker Hub. So you can see I've got a few things, but I don't have Redis yet. So let's run this and see if I haven't screwed this up. There's a few other flags that that you can add. Like you can ask for the habitat-based packages to come from unstable, so that would let you, if you needed like a nightly or an unstable supervisor or something like that, and likely our team would be using this for kind of some aggressive testing if we want to be rolling like newer supervisors into Docker images. You can point it at a different depot URL and channel, separate from like your user services stuff. So let's go and do this same kind of thing. Again, I cleared out my Docker image cache on my local engine just to sort of go from like 0 all the way through. Chances are this command's also going to do some post-push cleanup. And that might be an opt-in thing to say, like, just clean out these from my local Docker engine. And again, just for maintaining reasonable statelessness on the worker node. I don't really want our worker nodes with Docker engines that are like getting epically big. And,
so Fletcher, can I ask you a question while you're demoing this?
Yeah.
Would this have anything to do with what Salim was talking about with exports from Builder?
That is likely. Unfortunately, I was trying to get a seat in the Hangout and I missed some of that. So I'm going to say yes.
I'll jump in for a second. What's
Sure.
going to happen eventually is the worker will take the credentials and it'll be use the Dockerize stuff that Fletcher is doing to be able to export them to the Docker Hub or whatever repository we're targeting. So this will all come together into this bigger feature that we'll see all of it shortly.
That's right. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Salim.
I'm using the credentials that I provided, which is what Builder would have provided this if this was on the worker node. And then we're going to go and right now you basically have to push 3 tags. I don't this in one command, so it's basically going to happen for each tag. But because it's tagging a SHA that's already there, and with the caching, the last 2 are going to go a little bit quicker. We don't have to upload this thing like 3 times over. So let me just see. There's probably a couple of the metadata layers left, I'm going to guess. Yep. And yeah, you can see layer exists, so it'll push those other ones up here and then logs back out. Because I don't want to keep those credentials around. And then let's see.
The moment of truth.
To refresh. Ooh, look at that. I have a new image called Redis. That's kind of cool. Right now, this is a very MVP. We're going to see what we might be able to do now and in the near future and the longer future about potentially doing some smarter things about maybe populating some of this. But you can see for the tags already, there's our image with the 3 tags. So now I could just do a Docker pull fnical/redis and I get kind of what I want. And if I need to like version pin down to the release, just like we might do in Habitat, I still have our pseudo fully qualified package identifier. And if I just want my ABC semver, I've got that too. So this will be coming out super, super soon. I would imagine if we do a release today, probably not this one, but it'll probably be on the next release train out. So I'm really excited about that, and that's what I've got.
Super cool stuff. All the stuff that we've demoed this week that is related to Builder should hopefully make all of our users really excited. This has been a long time coming. There's a lot of effort that's gone into getting these features in, and so getting to see these demos is like really exciting. I think even for the core team to get to see all of the bits and pieces kind of converging on what we expect to be a really excellent experience for our users. So thank you, Fletcher. Sweet. So Jaime is with us now. So I'm going to go ahead and move Fletcher over here to done. And Jaime, do you have a preference between which of these 2 things you're going to do first?
No, I'll just do both at the same time.
Excellent.
I'll share my editor now. So like Ian mentioned, this is kind of like not just demo, like typically we demo like products and features, but right now we're also demoing things to each other, so what I've recently been doing is rewriting our network layer inside of the service so we can actually scale out, and had written a lot of this in unbelievable haste like a year ago, and going through and making it the real thing. So I'm just going to go through a couple bits and share it with everybody. The first is a standardization around a concept that we've had called net errors in the first place. So all the network services share a common error now. Prior, we would translate this a couple times through to eventually get it to the client and translate it between the protocol error, which is a net error, into a Rust error, and then into an HTTP error. Now it just stays this wrapped protocol net error the entire way through. So it's we're not devoid of types, and through this there's a number of improvements in the same vein. One of those is present here. This is the new way that you define a dispatch table in the servers. You basically statically allocate a function pointer table, and a little bit more is going to be done here to make it easier, but you register what messages handle, what handlers handle what messages. Scroll down a little bit, and there's only one thing that you need to implement now, which is implement dispatcher for the thing that you have, and define the dispatch table, a config for an error in the server state, and you call app start, and you pass it, and this will just turn on the whole app. This file used to be much longer, and it was much more brittle. To give you an idea of what another server might look like, this is how things were set up before. You had to implement quite a number of other types, traits. The dispatch worker was much longer, and in general, it was just a first pass that didn't really do the job. Why we've done this is there's one network thread on all the servers now that instead of multiple, they all go through the same main loop, so that way we can heartbeat appropriately, we can send and receive data, and then dispatch it out into worker threads. So it's just a hell of a lot better concurrency model than what we had as well before. The last bit that I wanted to show was, let's see, the handlers I got to change. So they take a straight message now with a route client and then the server state. By passing directly the route client, we could do things like route a message if we wanted to. You don't need to establish one or screw around attaching a broker or running a broker anymore. It all goes through the same thread. And this message class as well, struct, is much easier to work with than it was in the past. So there's, in our protocol, we send a multi-part message that has a header. The beginning is some identities, then there's a header. The header defines if there is, tells you what the message identifier is, if there's any routing information, and if it's a transaction. These are optional fields that the protocol understands now. We pass in the route info, and you can say it's this protocol and hash it on this. If it's a transaction, there's an ID, and if it's complete or not. It's all wrapped in Rust types now, so it's a lot easier to work with. And there's one message struct basically now for everything. How do I turn this screen share off?
It's at the bottom. I lose it every time.
It's at the bottom to turn off screen sharing.
Yeah, stop sharing, I think.
Well, I'm done. That's it. Yeah, really what I've been doing is just a bunch of improvements around our internal APIs and the protocol itself. I'm hoping that this work will be done in the next couple days. And when it is, the servers will auto-connect to each other. There won't be an order which you have to turn them on. Just a hell of a lot of great quality of life stuff.
I think we lost Ian. Yeah, he got bounced. I think people are getting kicked from the room, actually, for some reason.
All right, well, we might as well hurry up and do you, Elliot.
There we
Great.
go.
I think it's you, right?
Oh, Ian's back. Yay!
I'm back. What happened was, what had happened was, Hangouts just crashed really hard. So I missed the end of that, but anybody that's on Twitch, you can go back to YouTube and rewatch the section that's missing because it should have continued to stream. Sorry about that, Jaime. That it figures that we would go like 20 whole minutes without a problem, and then the minute you start talking, the internet's like, nope.
That's all right. Not enough bandwidth for what I had to show you.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Okay, so sorry. We'll figure it out. We'll get better at this, and it kind of as we figure it out, it'll be easier next time. So, so it looks like, who is this here that we're looking at? Is this Mr. Elliott? It is Mr. Elliott.
It is.
Wait, are you ready to present, my friend?
Yeah, this is my first time using Hangout Screen Share, though, so we'll see how this works.
Oh, it's always an adventure with Hangout Screen Share.
Okay, cool. Is it good? Okay, I think it's good. All right, so this is the Builder Origins view, as you know and love it. And so it's just a list of origins. And so what we've done is we've made it so that you can get a little bit more information about your origin when you come in, so you can see how many packages per origin that you have. One of the other, probably don't care about my debugger, one of the other improvements that we've made is a global loading bar. You can see at the top, it goes across and it loads until your origins are done loading. And so what we're going to do is hopefully implement this for everything that needs to load on the page. That'll let you know that something is happening in the background while we're going through. Some of the other improvements that we've made is we're working on revamping these pages inside of the origin, but we're adding these tabs up here. I don't know how well Hangouts works for like viewing smooth transitions, but we've got some nice animations and stuff just to make using the UI a little bit more delightful as you go through. And then the final thing that we're working on is the ability to link to these tabs directly. So before it was, if you wanted to link your buddy to the members tab, you couldn't do it, right? But now I can take this, leave this page entirely, go back over here, and I can get straight back to the members view right away. So that's going to be super nice when you go through and you want to link people to different sections of the page as you go through. And so that's what I got.
That's awesome. All of these improvements that we're making to the Builder UI are just going to be excellent. I'm so excited about them. So I think actually, is that it? Yeah, those were the last two, the global loading bar and the origin page redesign and package count. Obviously, like a ton of our effort right now is just completely around that builder experience and getting it in the right shape and feeling the right way. So you can expect to see more about this in the coming weeks. But I think that is going to be it for this week's demos. So thank you everybody who could make it out, and sorry for the technical difficulty. Hopefully next week will go a little bit smoother, and we'll see you next week.